I'm a genius! Hi everybody, welcome to Talk and Chalk. This is my YouTube channel where I share my tips on anything education related, and today I'm jumping into the topic of Genius Hour. Before I get to the specifics, I'm just going to remind everyone the subscription button is below. If you haven't seen any notifications from the channel, it's probably because you haven't tapped the little bell notification, which will let you know that a new video is out. I only do one video a week. I don't have time for any more than that, and I don't sell or spam anything. If you want to contribute to the conversation, comments are below. Always much appreciated, with a thumbs up for feedback. If you've got any ideas to contribute to the conversation or anything that you think might benefit some of the people watching this, please chuck it in the comments below so that our educators can benefit from all of our collaboration and expertise. So today's video on Genius Hour is going to be kind of targeting people that maybe are a little bit wary of it, unaware of it, a little bit nervous to try it, or hey, maybe you've just started giving it a go and you just want to get a bit more depth to the knowledge that you have. I am not an expert on Genius Hour whatsoever. I don't consider myself an expert on anything, I guess. What I aim to do with this channel is to share the things that have worked for me, the benefits of the experiences that I've had with people around me, and the feedback that I gain from their experiences as well, and just, I guess, my spin on things. So I've set up a Google Drive for you guys to just share the resources I have on Genius Hour, including lots of templates, visuals for the classroom, some posters, and some affirmations that have kind of helped me when I've been teaching or guiding Genius Hour in the classroom. So for those of you that are complete newbies and have no idea what I'm talking about, Genius Hour stems from the formula used by the Google company. So Google has the 20% method, where 20% of a staff member's time is dedicated to their own personal projects. Now, when we think of what that is, that's essentially a day a week of your workload from that week is dedicated to your own personal projects. They're allowed to do this in the workplace. They're allowed to utilize the resources that are around them. And Google found that their productivity, their ideas, or anything that pertains to their job enhanced because of the opportunities they had delving into projects that were part of their passions, part of their personal interests, and it therefore made them, happier in the workplace, more productive in the workplace, and they generated really good, innovative ideas as a part of this process. So obviously we can't give a day a week to our kids to do whatever the hell they want. So Genius Hour was formed, which essentially looks at giving kids at least 1 hour a week to working on their own personal project. Now, it sounds a bit airy-fairy. It sounds like just let the kids go for gold and do whatever the hell they want, and it really isn't. We give ownership to the kids about what they would like to learn. There still needs to be structure involved in it. So this really ties in well with the Australian curriculum, with our New South Wales syllabus documents, where a lot of what we're doing is inquiry-based learning. So it ties in well with design thinking. It really works towards entrepreneurial thinking as well. And depending on what the kids do, it falls into pretty much any kind of content you could come up with across all of our KLAs. Kids can be doing writing. They could be doing, digital technologies. They could be doing mathematical thinking. All of those things really just depends on the focus that they're going to have. So what they do is they start with an inquiry question, and ideally you want to guide those kids towards really good quality questions that are a little bit more open-ended, as opposed to, what do elephants eat? I found personally kids are really geared towards animals first. For some reason, that's an easier one to research animals, younger kids, obviously. As they get a bit older, they then start to shift their mindset and look at things that they can create, things that they can make. Ideally, as they go through this process, though, they need to share. That's the whole point of Genius Hour. It's not just finding out something for yourself. It's about finding it and sharing it for the purposes of helping other people learn as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the camera around. I'm going to do some screenshotting now and show you some of the resources that are in this Google folder that will help you put this into practice in your classroom. So this is the Google folder I've shared for you. I will link it in the description below, and you can see I've got lots of resources here for you. And like I said, lots of visuals. So what I'm going to do is just tap on some random ones. These are in no specific order whatsoever. This is a visual from, I think this one's the ICT Evangelist. And you can see at the top here, it says 3 things I am expert or interested in. And then down, I don't know what that's doing. Down the bottom, it says my project ideas. This is a really basic one that the kids can just draw into. Now, if you find that your kids easily talk about the things that they're interested in, this might be the only thing that they need to kind of get started. However, some need a bit more guidance and focus in those things. So this is a sheet that, and I've got to say outright, none of these things were created by me. These are all resources I found just by going to Google and searching Genius Hour and finding what was out there. I have never ever paid for a resource. So these are things that you should be able to access for free online. I'm not trying to spam off anyone else's material. So this says, complete the suggestions below and put stars beside those you are interested in. So this is just random brainstorming. And this is where you would start. You wouldn't go into the classroom and say, hey kids, you get to learn whatever you want today. Off you go. You really need to brainstorm these things. So I could make a mural about, I could build, I could write a letter to, I could paint, I could research, I could create an instrument using, I could investigate, I could solve. I really like this one because ideally if these kids can solve problems, that's what we're working towards. We're looking at it, making our kids the future critical thinkers of the world. Let's just go up to a couple of other ones. I like this one, the stages of Genius Hour. This is a good one to have sort of in the room, not just for the kids, but for yourself as well. A reminder that the go is identifying your passion. And this is what helps our kids become those reflective learners, really thinking deeply about what it is that they're passionate about. The next step is slow, to take a deep dive. This is where we're going in depth into our study. Oh, for crying out loud, I don't know why the system's doing this. And then stop to share. This is when we stop. And this is where your students can give each other peer feedback based on what they're doing too. Now, if you're questioning why you want to do these things, there's some prompts in here about why is creativity so important. When they're stuck, it helps them. They get to think instead of just recalling facts, that sort of a thing. And that's from Dylan William. That's a really cool one. Here's a good one. This is just the definition here. It says Genius Hour offers students a regular time each week to tackle projects that reflect their personal interests and passions, adapted from Google's 20% time. It ties in with the competencies for deep learning that, are characteristic of our 21st century learners, of future-focused learners: creativity, communication, citizenship, critical thinking, character, collaboration. Now, looking at all of this, I know there's lots of resources in here and you think, where do I actually start? I would recommend just going through all of these ones and finding one that suits you best as a teacher. If you're brand new to this and you're really not sure where you're going with this, but you kind of want to give it a go, just pick something that you would feel comfortable answering in front of your class so that you can role model it. So, if I look at this basic worksheet here, this is just a chart. It's got 4 sections. Things I wonder about food, things I wonder about weather, things I wonder about trees, and things I wonder about animals. The bottom one too, things I wonder about my own life. 5 sections there that you can easily fit that might generate some conversations. And then what the kids need to do is think of that inquiry question. So if we want to stick with animals, because that's what kids are interested in, they're going to say something like, where do whales live and how do they eat? That's one thing, but let's identify our problem that's happening with the whales and where they live and where they eat. And easily we could look at things like global warming, climate change. That's the kind of conversation that would allow the kids to go really deep into that information, into the research part of it, and then see if they can actually solve that problem. And this could mean things like creating a model of where those whales live. It could be creating a video where they splice together information that they've found. It could be creating a video based on pictures that they've come up with. It could be creating a website dedicated to fundraising for these whales, that sort of a thing. Because ideally, they need to share. They need to find a way to share it with everyone. So just scrolling through, you can see there are lots of things in there for you. And I'm just going to flip to Google where I searched Genius Hour. You can see there is just tons and tons and tons of websites dedicated to Genius Hour. Don't go straight to those places where, you know, they want you to necessarily buy something, because there are really good quality resources out there available for free. You just sometimes need to dig for them. Hopefully the ones that I've set you up with are enough. Now, if you go to YouTube, which is where I've just gone, these 3 videos here are really, really good. This one here, I've actually screenshot the main parts for you and put into this document here, which I'm just opening up. So, you know, if you're at school and suddenly your internet drops out or whatever, you could use this if you want, or you could have this as a display in the classroom to So those are the main things that come from this particular video here, but the other ones are all good. And you can see 1 minute 44, 3 minutes 59, 3 minutes 10. They're short, sharp. These are things you can actually show to your class, you know, after you've gauged a better idea of what it is you want to do. Okay, so like I said, there's lots of resources in there. I really don't want you to be fazed by how open this opportunity is and being able to give your kids different things. And you have to be prepared that some kids are going to congregate around similar things. Someone might choose an animal, someone else might choose an animal, some might want to do the same animal and work together. It's up to you if you want to let them buddy up or not. You know your kids and how they learn, and ideally you need to support their learning. I think the idea that you need to guide them is what your focus is, and the fact that they have an open option is what their focus should be. So even though you guys are working together, kind of doing the same thing, that focus is different, and what you're doing in your mind is going to be different to what they're doing. We need to give those kids those opportunities to go, I can learn about anything in the world that I want, and really don't put limits on them. If they want to learn how snot is made, go for gold. Learn how snot is made. But you know what? You have to present on it. You need to find some kind of key inquiry question around it, like, is there a way to prevent it from being generated? Is snot directly tied to the transfer of diseases in Australia? Come up with something deep and meaningful. Those are the opportunities you want to jump on, because sometimes kids will say those things being silly, but then that's the learning hook. That's the key thing that's going to get them engaged. So I try not to put anything off limits, because you know what? They've come up with some amazing things. Now, if you go to YouTube as well and type in Genius Hour examples, there are examples out there of kids that have done amazing things. There was a girl in America who, for whatever reason, made some kind of chicken coop, I think it was. And then she's ended up now making shelters for the homeless. For real. Other kids have made businesses. When loom bands were big, there was a girl who created some kind of online business. I can't remember specifically what it was she was making, but it was using loom bands. And she learned so much about tax and mathematical thinking and computational thinking and even coding to create the website, just based on Genius Hour. Now, for me, in some contexts, that 1 hour a week was really tight to fit in. I found it very, very difficult to fit that in. If you're doing some really good integration with your units and covering all of that time and you don't have too many interruptions, like if you're in a school that's not doing scripture, that doesn't have community languages, that kind of a thing, your timetable is going to be a bit more open than some other contexts. So kind of look at your timetable, try and find a way that it will link into other things. I mean, really this comes down to, you know, our English objective around being about quality feedback, which is in all of those things. You know, it comes down to interpersonal relationships if they're working in groups. There's a good way that you can tie these things in with what you're doing. When it came down to the crunch though, and I found it really, really hard to do it, I did it 1 hour a fortnight, and then I just set up the kids in a really scaffolded manner that they could continue at home if they wanted to. If they wanted to. I made that very explicit, that this was not something I was forcing them to do. It was not extra on top of what we were already doing. You know, there are kids that go out to tutoring every afternoon or sport every afternoon. You know, that kind of a thing. I didn't want it to be onerous. I wanted it to be engaging and fun, and to the point where they have some ownership over what they're doing, and ideally then sharing with their peers, so that, you know, it's a continual cycle. We're building up those lifelong learning skills. So I'm going to leave it there. By the time you see this video, I would have celebrated my birthday, so that's going to be fun. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any Genius Hour ideas, or if you've had some great opportunities with it and seen some great successes, please pop it in the comments below. But for now, I'm going to leave my subscription button there. If you haven't subscribed, click on that to subscribe. I'll leave another video at the top there, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.